Community. You are listening to Lone Star 4.5 KC and 106. LP Conroe and .com.
Agricultural toolbox. I think everybody's probably enjoying a little bit of sunshine. We've seen portions of days, and instead of just sop and mud and everything else going on, so a little bit of sunshine puts a smile on everybody's faces. And hopefully, I was listening to one conversation earlier this week, and they were talking about we were going to be able to get all 4 seasons in 1 week this week. Yeah, we started with down jackets on Sunday, and now we are in short sleeve shirts by Wednesday. So. And we wonder why our livestock and our bees are having problems out there. But anyway, last week we visited with the folks from out there at P6, and we talked a little bit about agricultural production, and we alluded to the fact that bees are very critical in the pollination, what goes on out there in their vegetables. And today we wanted to follow up a little bit more on beekeeping, and we've got some excellent folks here today to share some ideas with us, what's going on, and just again, like we did last week, have a conversation about what's going on out there. I know there's a lot of interest in what's going on, and James and Sherry Elam are here today and representing the Texas and Montgomery County Beekeepers Associations and the growers out there and everybody that's going on. So I thought we'd visit a little bit today, and we were just kind of putting this thought together a minute ago. But I thought let's kick it off because we have been through some stresses this last really the last year has been just kind of wet, extreme dry, heat. And then Harvey, and then now 17 degrees the other day. So how's that impacting the bees that you guys? I know you guys have got quite a few hives, and it's impacted your daily routine or what you expect, I guess, each time.
The weather does impact bees from the standpoint of their ability to forage, but they're really unique in that they have the ability to cuddle up in the hive and just weather it out. So we really don't have much in the way of losses directly related to cold temperatures. They fare very well.
Now the 17 degrees, 14 and 15 and 16 degree weather we had for an extended amount of time, you might see the outside of that cluster, those bees, you might lose those. And we did see some losses on that, but generally they do. They just huddle up and keep
even up north. I mean, you see
That's
them
right.
moving a lot of bees from up north. They're going to California to pollinate. So a lot of those bees, I don't know if they're gone during the worst of the winter months up north.
They actually left February 1st of February. They just went up there, and they'll be wrapping it up in the next couple of weeks. They usually
they'll be there about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. So
we're lucky to have a friend of ours here today, Lisa Ditford, which is the Texas Beekeepers Association Vice President, and also a migratory beekeeper. She's got bees that have gone to California this year.
Yeah, it's a heck of an industry, and it's a very important industry. That the bees, like I said, most people don't realize the resources that they offer and how they increase productivity. So again, we've got a very active group in this area. Are you guys? I know. We'll touch on your business here in a minute as far as the store and things like that, but the overall interest and involvement in landowners and just
It is incredible. Montgomery County Beekeepers Association has gone from zero to crazy in the last few years.
Right.
I mean, we had in 2012 40 or 50 members, and now we're over 200 families.
Right.
It's a packed full building, as you can attest to, every single month. And what takes $400, $500, $600 to get wrapped up in, people are willing to spend double that now to help the bees. And we absolutely see, hands down, very, very much a gratifying surge, I guess is the right word, of beekeeping locally and state level.
For an individual family to become involved in beekeeping is kind of a unique experience in that it's not just a one-person event, or it doesn't have to be just a one-person event. Homeschool moms, dads, local schools, just a variety of applications for involving bees in your life. And the educational aspect is just such an important opportunity, not only in learning about bees, but learning about how bees interact in our environment and their importance. And that's what's driving the cause.
How much feedback do you get as far as I've had several families now? They say this is work.
It is work.
They just figure we put the bees out there and they'll take care of business. So I go, No, you need to be paying attention because it's
You
going to
put them in a box and they require management.
Yes,
Funny
well,
how that
We
works.
have a saying that goes, there are bee havers and there are beekeepers.
There you go.
And our at least from history standpoint, the small farms that had bees, they were mostly bee havers because bees were very easy to maintain at that time. Our parents or our grandparents, but in the mid 80s, we sort of adopted some of the creatures of the world in regards to pest and disease, and now we have to manage those creatures, and it puts a different aspect on beekeeping.
And again, I think people don't realize that the food sources. You alluded to the things that are out there that they were going to feed on. The clovers that are coming up here right now, it'll be blooming for too long, and just the availability of that. But at the same time, if when middle of winter they're feeding, right? They're having to feed those hives.
We've had to supplement our food. Sure, the kind of the crazy weather we've had, the cold and warm and wet, tends to affect the forage. So we have had, I think, more than anything, had to supplement the pollen this time of year. This year more so than the sugar syrup.
Yes, we have, but the bees are enjoying this nice weather.
Ooh, they are.
The populations are starting to build, and they are happy.
Again, you were talking about the involvement in the growth and involvement of people. Are we having plenty of materials and bees out there to get these new families started? I mean, for a long time there was a shortfall, and there was a back order on trying to get queens and hives started.
We could sell as many bees as we could manufacture.
Right.
It is amazing. We started selling bees for the spring season in October and sold almost 200 nucleus colonies before Christmas. So we considered ourselves sold out. Now the scramble is on, but there are locally still bees available, and typically the larger brokers will continue to have them available through the middle to the late summer.
Are you seeing that same kind of across the state?
Well, the migratory beekeepers, when they bring those hives back from California, they are bursting at the seams. So that's a good opportunity for them to start more nucleus hives and have another influx of sales. We're counting on getting full boxes of bees so that we can split and grow our apiary.
Gotcha.
So that does replenish the population. Right now, it's a little bit low. Most beekeepers, small-scale beekeepers, try to place their bee orders October, November, December, because the demand does exceed the availability this time of year.
And the longer you wait, the more expensive they get.
They get too. But it seems like everybody says, well,
Price
spring.
goes up. Supply and demand.
Right, exactly.
They figure spring, I want to go buy some bees.
Sure.
And realize that,
Sure.
it's just like planting trees. You need to start that a long time
You
ago.
do. You have to start planning ahead and getting your woodenware ready even. I mean, that in itself is a project. It doesn't just happen overnight. But the Montgomery County Beekeepers Association is starting, speaking of queens, James has launching a queen initiative where he will be conducting 3 groups, as of now it's 3 groups, to learn and perform queen grafting. And any MoCo member, beekeeper member with some experience, at least a year or so experience, can get involved in this class, learn how to graft queens, and at the end of the session, which is about a month, 6 weeks, I think, any queens that have become available, that participant will be able to get for free because they participated in the program. So that's going to bring local queens to our club and to our members that are affordable and homegrown queens, which
Then we know the
are
genetics
viable.
on them.
That's
Yeah.
right.
That's exactly right. We're wanting to concentrate on successful local genetics as much as we can
Plus the
and
education.
incorporate it into our environment. But the educational opportunities, as Sherry said, are huge, and that the average beekeeper needs to learn how to raise queens. Not that you don't want to supplement occasionally from outside sources to alter genetics somewhat to provide diversity, but a successful colony in our environment needs to be perpetuated.
Right.
So that's our goal.
Now, on these classes here, it's for the association members first, or
is.
can outside persons be involved in too? Or?
There is not. It's absolutely for a MoCo member.
Okay.
And I think that you began the outreach in like November or so, and people signed up. And a minimum of 6 per class. So it's really a small, you know, a table situation like this. And you take a frame and you literally graft larvae and put it in the colony, and you watch that process and come back and visit and the apiary and go through the whole process.
Are you guys
could
doing
do-
this at your house
Yeah,
then?
at our
Yes,
apiary.
at our apiary.
Right.
We began the process with, as Sherry said, with grafting, but the graft is inserted into a starter box, and then the starter box goes to a finisher colony, and it's quite an elaborate process that's in reality easy to accomplish if you know the steps.
Right.
So that's what we're wanting to teach is the steps.
He's been breeding drones for about 6 weeks now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so he can
So our
have a good
success rate is there, huh?
We hope that it will be.
Right.
There you
It's
go.
going to be interesting.
There will be.
That's not bad at all. So as far as the the involvement of people in the association, we've alluded to that. And are they taking advantage of the educational opportunities?
They
that
really
you guys are
seem to
offering?
be. We've got the newbie program. For anyone listening, Montgomery County Beekeepers Association meets once a month, the third Monday of the month, 6:30. If you can get there early, which is about 30 minutes, then there's what they call a newbie meeting. So if I don't know anything about bees, or I just started reading, I can come to that newbie meeting and just talk, open, freely talk, ask questions. Then at 7 o'clock the meeting starts, and we carry that through till 9 o'clock. But it absolutely open to the public. Come see what we're about, and $20 gets the whole family a membership for the entire year. That's pretty cheap entertainment.
And like I said, you guys have got a very valuable program each month.
We
So,
do.
It's not
Absolutely.
it's just not a social event.
It is. That's true.
There's a lot of things that
We
we've
have
talked
cookies,
about there.
but there's something good going on there.
It truly is an educational opportunity, and this month in particular, we'll be launching a new mentee mentor program
Okay, good deal.
where we've had a few years to explore various methods of revising our current program, and we're looking forward to launching it as part of next week's program.
Monday.
In addition to that, part of one of the segments of this program will be introduction of students that are currently participating in our youth sponsorship program,
There you go.
which is a real interesting program that we have designed for MOCO members with children age 12 to age 17.
Okay.
And we provide them with all the necessities of beekeeping supplies, from the bees to the boxes to the suits, all equipment necessary, and as well as mentors. And we develop them for a year, and they will be graduating this coming night, demonstrating their skills that they've acquired. And
It'll be interesting to
That
see
was
their final report.
that is super, yeah. Because
It
like
really
I say,
is.
a lot of times you start a mentor program, if it's not solid, you lose folks. But this
And
sounds
this
like
was
this
our
is,
first year.
Yeah.
Our youth program director, Nanette Davis, she did a really good job, her and her crew, making a first-year successful year. They started off with 6 students and landed with 5. That's not bad.
that's not bad.
And
true.
truly, the only reason the one had to back out was health reasons and a colony that didn't thrive. So I think that's pretty good odds. But at the end of the year, like James stated, they graduate, and all of that equipment, bees, everything becomes their own property, and they earned it. It's really a wonderful feel-good for not just the student but the mentor too.
Well, it reemphasizes the important aspect of the importance of education
It does.
It's
in
a commitment.
beekeeping, and yes, the children are probably headed to college and then begin their young careers, but at some point in their life, we hope to stimulate their reinterest or reactivity.
keeps them involved with agriculture. Let's go ahead and take a break right now, and we'll get a sponsor or two, and we'll be back in a few minutes with more on our beekeeping.
Don't forget to download the Lone Star Community Radio app for your Google Play or Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM. That is Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1.
For those of you who like your partners, your gumbo, and your music salty, well, we're here to help with the music. Julian Shea here, host of Lone Star Country Nights Thursday, your weekly dose of roots and Americana and all the music that makes this part of the country special. We stir in Western swing, honky-tonk, Zydeco, Texas blues, outlaw country, and put a pinch of red dirt, and then we smoke it over a slow fire. Then listen to the results Thursday nights on Conroe's 104.5 and 106.1 and worldwide at irlonestar.com.
And we're visiting about beekeeping and the value of the bees in our industry, in our food production chains. But we were just visiting about the mentor program and what the Montgomery County Beekeepers Association has been doing. And again, maybe let's just touch on some of the programs that you guys have talked about, the subject matter, things like that.
The Montgomery County Beekeeper Mentor-Mentee program, like James said earlier, has been around since 2012, and one of our beekeepers, Joel Burchett, started it, and it was such a great program. But as time went on, we found the need for more in-depth studies. So we actually have a checklist of requirements, everything from the bee biology, the development stages of a bee, all the way up to hive inspections, the pest, how to deal with pest management, equipment, queen rearing, every aspect that could possibly fall in line, we're going to overview in this mentor program. We will, starting in March, if you get there at 6:15 or are a part of our mentor program, we're going to be able to do a checklist like lighting the smoker. We'll actually be able to do that. Maybe I should have asked you ahead of time since you were in charge of that office.
You're
We light a smoker in your parking lot.
No, you're good.
Good. But I know that James is going to be out there hands-on, and we'll be able to checklist off the different requirements to get finished through the program and feel like you really know that you're a beekeeper and you can handle it.
We really want to be a hands-on approach to the mentee-mentor program. Instead of just a mentee and a mentor responsible to one another, we want them to feel the involvement of the group. And that's what MoCo is all about, the group environment for learning beekeeping.
And again, the beekeeping, what I've been around it, if you're not experiencing it, it doesn't soak in. I mean, when you're actually doing things,
you got to be
jump in
inside
here.
a box.
You got a different aspect dealing with all the bees being moved around, transition, things like transit.
Well, I'm from Collin County, and we have a club, Collin County Hobby Beekeepers. It is one of the oldest clubs in the state and one of the largest. We have something like 350 members in
Huge
our club.
Right.
But we have piggybacked the mentor program that MoCo started. We also have a queen program. There's not a lot of clubs that have the support, the backing to do a queen program.
Excuse me, but these are actually human queens.
Human queens.
Honey queens.
Honey
Honey
queens.
queens.
I got you.
Young ladies that are beekeepers, but they also have to learn how to present themselves, how to conduct themselves. They will go and speak to civic groups, school kids from 5 to 18. Anybody that wants to hear about bees, they can reserve a time slot with our queens, and they will go
So more of a
share
citrus grower.
information, whether it's just bee biology to a class of third graders, or if it's how the average gardener can help bees by not buying plants with neonicotinoid pesticide on them.
Right.
But yeah, the clubs are extremely important, and the stronger that club is, the more beekeepers you're going to produce in your area. And I know MoCo does a lot, so does Collin County.
And the Honey Queen program she's referring to, Montgomery County doesn't have that as of yet. It's a want.
Right.
It's not been, we've not really taken that leap off in it yet, but those queens will go all over Texas. They'll, garden clubs could even reach out and facilitate getting a honey queen to come to their club and talk about beekeeping.
It takes quite a bit of coordination. Our master gardeners have got a speakers bureau associated with them, and it's just like exactly what you're talking about. But they've got to feel comfortable, and then having that equipment also, because most times we send a master gardener out with a projector and a computer, and if they're going to do a PowerPoint, then those resources have got to be in hand too. So most places, when you go to a garden club, they're just meeting, and you've got to bring, the presentation to them. So,
We spoke at the Lake Houston Gardeners in Kingwood Monday night, and that was a great group.
We had a great time.
We did.
They are highly educated, and they were soaking up beekeeping.
They wouldn't let us leave.
Good
it was
deal.
like, I want to hear more. I want to hear more.
So, I mean, obviously the audience is out there, and this is across the state. We're seeing this need out there, which is, that's the neat thing about it, because it's, everybody's talking about bees dying and that they're gone and things like that. But, the education and the resurgence and the implementation of beekeeping is hopefully
like
working
to-
on that population.
Mike, if I might, I'd like to throw out some numbers
Sure,
about that.
definitely.
When we were asked to speak at that Gardener Association, they booked us 6 months ago and wanted to talk about CCD, colony collapse disorder. And James and I researched it for months to see if we could go feeling a little more educated than just from the beekeeper aspect of it. One thing that we found out really quick was that the studies were done primarily by special interest groups. So the information out there that we see on social media or even a blip on the news, we have to be very careful that it's not got a slant to it. Honeybees are not endangered. There are some bees that were put on the endangered list, but they are not honeybees, and they're not here, okay? We have actually, through Bee Informed Partnership, the acronym's BIP, have learned that we're actually increasing the numbers of bees and decreasing the losses. Texas in 2016-17, we were down to, the nation down to 16% in some locations of losses. That's down from 44% in 2015. That's a huge improvement, huge improvement. So I don't think it's as grim as some studies may indicate.
Right.
And yes, we do want folks to be very cognitive that the neonicotinoids and pesticides, we want to try to use natural ways to treat our garden pests and, fungicides. And James can throw some little more insight on this. Fungicides have been up there ranked even above neonicotinoids in a lot of cases.
And that's what we're finding. A lot of times the inert ingredient is what, it may not be the pesticide itself, but the carrier is what is causing the problems. We found that. I was, same way doing some presentations, and you go to digging into it and just, you think all fungicide or herbicide is not a problem. It can be.
Well, absolutely.
Mixing those chemicals too, because they'll use the same sprayer, for different chemicals, and then they're making a cocktail, and who knows what effect that could have.
Exactly.
That's a good
And there's still going to be a spraying, but again, if they can come back and monitor the time of the day that they're doing their activities, because most of the pesticides that a lot of folks are utilizing are short-lived. I mean,
They
there's not
truly
a lot of residual out
It's
there.
a contact kill.
So it's, if they're late in the day when they're doing this, when the bees are up, and, by morning, when they get ready to start and go out foraging, it's dissipated. So if they just think about things, instead of just going out there, mid-morning and start spraying and, being in right competition with a target.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, so many beekeepers, one of the reasons they initially think about bees or getting into having bees is because they have gardens or they have fruit trees, and they want the additional pollination. And it wasn't very long ago that it was very common to hear individuals say, I have no bees. I have none. There are no bees here.
I've got a squash blossom. I'm having to go out there and pollinate
by hand.
between myself.
Tomatoes, okra, the
I
whole
know.
thing. They'll come
We
up, there's
did it. We
nothing
did it
made.
years ago.
Yeah.
We're hearing less and less of that, but it is an important notation that for those that are raising gardens and fruit trees to be cautious of the honeybees and make applications. Nearly all chemicals have directions which are beekeeper friendly if you read the directions on the label.
Right.
I think probably more than anything that what I have gathered out of all of the readings that I was doing trying to prepare for that program was that the crops outside your zone, you don't have to kill the weeds. The weeds are pretty. The bees forage on those weeds. The nice manicured lawn is wonderful, but Roundup might not be your best friend in your environment. Maybe it's okay for the dandelions to grow in that area. The bees love them, especially this time of year. Dandelions is our
That's their
wonderful-
staple.
It is.
Staple.
It is. So one of the aspects of being an agricultural state, which we are primarily, is that outside the cotton or outside the parameters of any kind of agricultural monocrop, is that they've got to kill out the weeds and kill out the understory of the gardens, and that in itself causes a lack of forage for honeybees. And I think that is one thing that hobby beekeepers have helped with, is that we have a better, maybe not better, but we try really hard to create that natural forage area for them in our backyards.
Yeah. And again, this, with Montgomery County not being so much a row crop area, and Collin County still got, quite a few cotton.
It does.
A lot of row crop. But if we're not row crop, then there's more, grazed country, hay fields. But those grazed fields, we're planting a lot of clovers just because it's the legume that helps the soils. So, we're helping on that standpoint, but it's an excellent forage source for the bees. So, getting people to understand that, it's more than just helping your grazing, it's helping, the bee population overall.
Well, it truly is helping in that we picture bees foraging on flowers, but if you go walk through a field of biograss, there's bees all in it at certain times of the year. So that application of chemicals or insecticides needs to be planned and understanding that there are bees actually there, and that just because there aren't flowers blooming, our bees are living out there.
I mean,
They're
even your
going out every
grasses,
day.
mentioned biograss. I mean, the little black, flowers that you see on the plant is just like smut grass. It's not a great big old pink flower. It's
No.
a different type of flower that they're
Exactly.
utilizing. So, there's a variety of things out there for them to utilize. So again, we're seeing the population numbers rebounding, and as far as the newbies, what kind of numbers of boxes? I mean, how involved are they? Is this one hive or two?
Usually
Are we
two or
seeing-
three.
Okay.
Usually 2 or 3. We try to inspire new beekeepers to start with 2 colonies.
Okay.
You don't, you can't see a comparison. How do you know if this one's doing good if you don't know what good looks like? If you've got 2 to compare to, then you most obviously are going to be able to see a difference. So most beekeepers, new beekeepers, will start with 2. And thank goodness bees perpetuate amongst themselves, and you'll end up with 3 or 4 within a year or 2.
With good management
good
skills, you will.
management
There are certain things that we have to learn to keep our bees alive, but even with excellent management skills, colony losses continue to exist.
Well, they do.
So a new beekeeper with 1 colony that's made the investment and has the excitement, and they're looking forward to a honey crop at some point in time, it's kind of devastating when you lose your 1 colony. And it can happen even to the best manager.
Devastating to us to lose a colony. We hate to lose bees.
Well, it's just,
But
and again, it was
hate
neat
to
to see, when we had the display up there at the fair, the attrition
Yeah.
that goes on naturally.
Yeah.
Is that true, or is that, was that, I mean, is that normal? Is that a consequence of those bees in that display case? As far
A
as,
little of both.
In the observation
I think people figure that, the bee is out there and it lives forever. No.
It does 3 to 4 weeks in the spring for
Yeah.
a foraging bee. I mean, that's, and they're working themselves to death.
Exactly.
So
So-
that's one reason why that queen's laying 2,000 eggs a day-ish.
And quite often what we perceive to be a cold kill during extremely cold weather, in reality, when we go out to our boxes and see dead bees on the ground and we think that they froze to death, well, in reality, they haven't been able to fly, so it's a natural die-off occurring within
They just
the colony.
aged out.
The
Just
older
aged
bees,
out.
so it's a natural.
I think
Speaking of that
process.
fair, we're going to have a booth up there.
That's why, I just
we
wrote that down
are.
here a minute
Did
ago as
you?
far as the display and what was going to be involved, because, we've changed that up every year, and it's got a little bit more involved and a little different aspect, and they've always had some live bees, and then there's some great big hives, hive examples there in one of the cases, but
We'll
just,
be doing that.
Yeah, we will continue to have live bees there on the days with the largest crowds. There's some days where it won't be there all day.
so we're going to
but,
bring them in and out, we're not going to leave them there
Well,
the entire
it'll
time.
be there. We've only got, I think, a downtime just up in the middle of the week. Now, fair starts April 13th.
Correct.
Right? Friday 13th, and goes through April 22nd. We plan to have bees there most the entire time, except for, I think, a Wednesday, Thursday in the middle of it. But Lisa had mentioned the Honey Queen coming. The April 16th and 17th are the kid days.
Right.
The Texas Honey Queen will be there for
Oh,
those
super.
days. So we want to make sure anyone
Maybe
that,
she'll do a bee beard.
yeah,
That
she
would be
might
pretty
could do
cool.
that.
You will be covered up with kiddos. on
Yes,
those
we
days.
would. We will. But that'll be a great opportunity for anyone that's even thinks that they want to be in beekeeping to come out, if not those 2 days, because that is a during the day event. Any of the days during the fair, and talk to one of the beekeepers that are going to be manning that booth. It's just a great booth, a great education.
And they enjoy the heck out of being up there. Every time I go
Yeah.
by and visit with them a little bit, they're just having a grand time. And
It's a fun group.
it's
We're a fun group.
Exactly that. So
Once you get started talking, it's hard to stop.
It is. It is.
Hard to stop asking questions.
It is.
It's hard to stop answering them.
It
well,
is.
We have a very, very unique open air hive that was found out the outside of a ballpark field in South County.
oh, okay.
Commissioner
But,
Nowak's precinct.
Right.
I remember where
Right,
that
so it
exactly
was
is.
removed last year because it was interfering with baseball play.
Okay.
But we have it in our possession, and it will be on display at the fair.
We don't own it. The club owns it, but we, because for selfish reasons, love to have it in our store.
That's all
'Cause
right.
It is.
Well, it's tended
it's a
to that way.
specimen.
It's a
Specimen.
specimen
It is.
colony without bees. It shows the comb and the life of the honeybee.
How they
without
build it in
bees
nature.
present, how they build it in
Open
nature,
air
correct?
hive.
Yeah. No, that's a cool deal.
Phyllis and Brian got that hive.
Okay.
They did, or they facilitated someone to get that. I guess I
That
should
was a
say.
good deal because there's been, out here at Gene Campbell Park, we've had to be. They'll just
Yeah.
if something about ball
Ball
fields,
field, yeah, it
they
is.
just like to go there and hang
They
out
do.
and watch what's going on and
There's
it's just
some
a deal.
swarm
Well, you know,
traps out there.
That's right. We need to, don't we?
Honeybees like sugar water, and Coca-Cola is a pretty good.
Hey,
base.
you know, that might be
There's
what it
lots of
is.
stuff out
There's a
there.
soda cup.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and take another break here, and we'll be back to talk a little bit more about bees after these messages from our sponsors.
Hispanic Chamber Connections with Dr. Carlos Sanchez, President of the Woodlands Conroe Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, featuring event announcements, member highlights, and more. Tuesdays at 1 p.m., broadcasting from the heart of Conroe, Texas on irlonestar.com and Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1.
Our talk shows and music shows are looking for sponsors. Want to expand your brand awareness? Reach the hyper-local audience in Montgomery County? Lone Star Community Radio sponsorships accomplish this. Want to see our stats and rates? Check out irlonestar.com/sponsor for more information. Or call in and leave us a message at 936-647-3776.
All righty. Glad to have you with us today. We've been talking about bees and their importance and how they impact our food supplies. And we've talked a lot about, growing bees and things like that. And I thought, well, maybe let's just spend a minute talking about some of the production. I know that's always an issue. And in fact, I forgot to mention to you beforehand that this gentleman here beside us was asking for some honey, and I forgot to get a hold of you.
Well, Dick,
We were here
I'm
last
so
week,
sorry.
and he asked about, making sure that we brought him some honey. And
Good thing we live local. I know where to find you.
All righty, but anyway, that's always the neat deal, and I know I've attended a meeting or two there at the Montgomery County Beekeepers there. They talked about production and even the benefits of local honey, but let's just visit a little bit about as far as, production. There's some average expectations that come out of boxes, assuming that things are going good. And, the work that's involved with harvesting that honey and then turn around marketing. And I know there's some guidelines as far as what's considered local honey, because you got stuff kind of being shipped around and, watered down and all those kinds of good things. But let's just talk about, kind of expected production for those folks that get involved with beekeeping and, what kind of volume to anticipate.
The average hobby beekeeper has a different production estimate than a commercial beekeeper, and it's fairly significant
lot.
difference.
I bet.
A successful colony in the hands of a hobby beekeeper or small-scale beekeeper would be approximately 30 pounds as an average nationwide, whereas a commercial beekeper's, it's almost
100.
unlimited depending
Yeah, see, I
upon
was
what
thought
your
80 was-
forage is,
okay.
right? 80, 90, 100 very easily. But for someone with a couple of colonies of bees that are productive in their backyard, to get 50 or 60 pounds of honey in your second season,
That's excellent.
that is an amazing experience. That's a lot of honey for an individual family. So you've got enough to give away for Christmas presents,
You do.
even potentially to sell.
Well, I think that's the best aspect of it is, if you put an $8, $10 a pound price tag on that per pound,
Right.
60 or 70 pounds, that helped pay for the hobby.
Yeah,
You know?
well, the boxes, what the investment's been made is not, it's significant. So, this
Can
is
be.
part of trying to recover that and making it, a feasible operation.
Well, in a small-scale beekeeper in Montgomery County, if you're a MoCo member, you've got access to extraction equipment. Our club in Collin County may be
We
the
don't,
same.
we don't,
have club
well,
owners.
they are available, but you have to rent them.
Yeah.
So beekeepers will rent out
And
their
a lot
honey
of,
house.
yeah, a lot of clubs are that way. They either have it for rent or it's a loan, on loan basis, which MoCo's is an on loan. And the beekeeper, usually in July, August, we kind of end up with a list, a waiting list. They'll extract that honey, return the equipment, and then they get to.
So they're picking the equipment up, taking it home, and
They
not
do.
just a central location where they come
That
to
is
and harvest
correct.
okay.
That is correct. You talked about a requirement. In 2015, I believe it was, September 1st, 2015, Senate Bill 1766 was incepted by our local Lisa Hyder, which is now the Secretary of the Texas Beekeepers Association. She helped author the bill that allows small-scale hobby beekeepers to extract and bottle up to 2,500 pounds of honey legally without holding a food manufacturer's license or a state-inspected
Honey house.
honey house.
Which is
works
significant.
very well.
I mean, it impacted lots and lots of people
It
by that
did.
legislation. Yeah.
Well, until that, if they sold one bottle, they were not compliant.
That's right.
With the law.
We do have to have specific verbiage on our labeling to, I guess, disclose that we are not bottling in a facility inspected by the state health department. But, I think most people that buy honey from James and Sherry or from Lisa, they realize that we're doing this in the cleanest spot because we want it to be as clean for us to consume as it would be for you.
Yeah, I mean, your family's going to use it as
That's
well as
right.
your neighbors, so.
And the average small-scale beekeeper is doing that bottling in their kitchen.
Right.
And hopefully our kitchens are as clean as we expect
Our
them to be.
kitchen's clean.
There you go.
Our kitchen is clean.
Honey is unique, though, in that it lasts forever. And even though you may have honey crystallize, what that proves to you is that it's real honey. And it's not honey that's been imported
That's a good thing to
from
bring
another
up.
country that has been highly processed, highly filtered, or overly heated. And hobby beekeepers' honey is good, clean, pure
Raw,
honey
natural.
with all the pollen of the local area. You did mention something about what qualifies as local honey. And while there are a lot of definitions, James and Sherry have our own definition.
And it's the right one.
It's the right one, that's right.
Okay, well, what's the right one then? Yeah.
One of the numbers that's been thrown around is honey that's been produced within 50 miles of you
That's
should
what I
be
understood,
considered
yeah.
as local honey.
Right.
Well, if you picture the various vegetation that exists in Texas, if you're down in Corpus and you reach out 50 miles, has your vegetation changed? Maybe not, maybe so, but if you're in Sugar Land, it definitely changes if you reach out 50 miles in one direction or another.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that can vary. So what we produce here in Willis, is it the same over in Kuntz? Well, that's over 50 miles away. But it is the same vegetation. It is our yaupons and our pines.
So it has more to do with forage than miles.
So we look at it as a lateral plane.
Growing regions.
Growing regions,
Right,
that's right. So
that's
if
right.
if our bees are foraging the same thing that Lisa's are, which they aren't, but similar, but we wouldn't consider that local, or we would consider it local if it were the same forage.
Right. So we don't utilize that definition from the standpoint to increase the number of people that we can sell it to, because one of the restrictions of the legislation allowing hobby beekeepers to bottle their own honey is that we have to sell it ourselves.
Right.
It
We
has
have
to
to be
pass
the
from our
direct
hand to
sale.
your hands. Therefore, it cannot sit on the shelf of a feed store or grocery store.
That's right, that's right.
If you're going to take advantage of that under 2,500 pounds and being
That's
able
correct.
to bottle in your kitchen.
Right.
And one thing that you set this, about the appraisal district in front of us, that has been a huge draw for
Right.
beekeepers. It was a kind of a hidden benefit for us, but I would like to say that Montgomery County had a revaluation of the valuation this year.
Right.
Effective, actually retroactively effective for 2017. We went from the ag valuation for an apiary from $1,318 an acre down to $317 an acre. Huge win for apiaries.
Right.
We qualified for the first year last year and saw a significant drop in our taxes and welcomed that wholeheartedly and a lot of folks are in that 5-year, developing that 5-year history and getting where they can get to that.
And we're very appreciative to the Montgomery County Appraisal District for listening to our request for an adjustment, and specifically to Mark Castleshilt, who's also a beekeeper, to
He looked at it long and hard and truthfully, and wasn't just for our beekeeper end of it, but from the logistics of it. It's what the land will produce.
Right.
That's what evaluation's
what
about.
it's all
It's
about.
not about, can I save on this? It's
Right.
not an exemption. And I think
And
Brad.
everybody calls it.
Oh, they do. Brad Parker, we just love Brad.
Well, he was going to come today, except he had
Was
another
he?
commitment. Yeah, when
Oh,
I
well,
called him yesterday, I said,
well.
I can't find this on the internet. And I said, we're doing it one. He said, Dadgummit, I've got to be up in Huntsville. Otherwise, I come by and visit.
Well, I'll send him an email and thank him for not showing up, because that's what
Okay.
got us here, right?
No, he's going to be here too.
Oh, was he? Oh,
Yeah.
two.
Yeah.
Okay, all
And
right.
those bees aren't just benefit to that landowner, because they're gonna work a 2 to 5 mile
exactly
radius.
right.
So anybody with agriculture within that
exactly
range, they're benefiting from it.
And to follow up on that, everybody figures it's a tax exemption. It's not. I mean,
not.
the whole program or system, I should say, is basically you're basically taxed on the productivity of the property, and it's not an exemption. It's just placing a value on the productivity of the property. And there's a variety of ag uses out there, whether it be hay production, grazing, timber, whatever the case
Wildlife.
might be, the wildlife evaluation. It's all in evaluation, not an exemption, and people need to realize that. They just figure they're going to do away with taxes, and that's not the case at all. You're just being paid, being taxed based on the agricultural productivity of that entity.
And there's an expectation that needs to come out of it.
Well, that's just it. And, do you want to talk a little bit as far as the guidelines there? And, I mean, there's a minimum of 5 acres and up
It
to
is.
20 acres that
It is.
can be involved under this evaluation.
And up to 12 hives. I see you've got here 11. I understood it to be 12. But
This is what he sent me, so I wasn't sure.
Then I would say Mr. Parker knows better than
Well,
he does.
someone told me 16 was up to 20, so I was
He's
glad to
got
see that.
first 5 acres is 6 hives, additional 7.5, 3 hives. So total of 9 hives required. First 5 acres, 6, 5, and then additional 12.5 for 5 hives is 11 hives, which is where we are. We have 20 acres. And of course, anyone looking into doing that with any ag valuation, that they take your house out of that equation.
Right.
It doesn't include your improvements on your land. So
Yeah,
we-
that's those productive acres. That's all
exactly
that's involved
right.
with it, yes.
Your house doesn't produce an agricultural benefit to the to our neighbors.
And you mentioned the expectations. Yes, if there's no food out there, you're responsible for putting the food sources out there on that property. If it's a bare piece of ground, looks like a parking lot, you're not going to get that exemption
You're
unless
not.
you've got, some
You're not
food
gonna
sources
get any
out there.
honey either.
Exactly. They're all going to leave.
That's exactly right. We know when it's when we have to supplement and make sure that the bees have something where our production's up too.
we quite often get calls from landowners who are looking for beekeepers to put bees on their property. Sometimes we're able to assist them, sometimes we're not, but it's very common for someone in a commercial setting to request bees, and they've got this 12-acre tract, which is eventually going to be a subdivision, or is eventually going to be
Something.
a commercial outlet mall or something, and it's just not an ideal setting. They're looking for an opportunity for the reevaluation, and
Well, what works best
we're
for you guys
realistic.
along this line there as far as placing bees for people? Because I get a lot of calls that, we'd like some bees in our backyard. They're not physically able to manage the bees, but they'd like to have someone place a hive.
If they've got the forage and they've got the space, then there are beekeepers.
And
that
hopefully no ag right next to it that's gonna get chemicals
Most of it's going to
applied.
be subdivisions, and they've got gardens and things like that, and most of those folks are going to stay away from pesticides
And
anyway.
it is perfectly legal for someone with a qualifying piece of property to have a beekeeper come in and make a deal,
Managed
whatever
colonies on the
managed
property.
Yeah,
colonies.
exactly.
And,
I mean, same way with cattle. You don't
yeah,
have to own the cattle.
absolutely. You don't have to
Right.
own it. And I think if anyone is interested in that, they can definitely go on the mocobees.com website and reach out and contact us and say, I've got land that I would like bees on, and they kind of gets funneled down through the group of us, and we'll see if we
Yeah,
can
we've
get
got
it
some
out
bigger
there.
landowners out there like Billy Wood. I know he's got a bunch of bees that, in fact, some of them floated away. He had some problems
Oh,
like that back
goodness.
in August. But the people placed them on his property, and he's got a lot of clover out there, and just different warm season and cool season clovers. So those kind of things are out there. But folks realize that there is expectation also that you're going to market that commodity. That's what goes along with this evaluation. If it's a hobby, then you're not going to qualify for this. And the fact is that whether you're grazing goats or cattle or hay, you've got to sell a product or show that it has gone into a food chain somewhere. So again, it's not designed to help the hobbyist out, whatever the entity is that you want to produce, but you're actually producing an agriculture commodity that you can show receipts and production was made and input costs were there, and you can document everything that's gone on. Absolutely. And that's developing that history you were referring to. So once we've got that in place, we're able to go on with that. And I think most everybody would be in a situation there we're going to be marketing some of that product. If 30, 40, 50 pounds of honey, they're not going to use that much. So it's very easy to sell it to the neighbors, and whether we use chicken eggs or whatever.
That's right.
They're selling things.
Well, we get several hundred pounds a year and manage to keep honey to provide to our customers most of the year round.
What size containers is most popular?
Most popular is a quart jar. We used to sell squeeze 1 pound bottles, and probably because my fault that I just thought it looked so cool in that 1 pound squeeze bottle. It looked official. But you get folks that want to buy honey from a beekeeper, they want it in a glass mason jar.
The little plastic or glass honey bears are also real popular.
Right.
But again, your volume's not there.
Yeah.
So for someone that really uses honey and cooks with honey, and they want larger.
We sell, I'm going to say primarily, pint and quart jars.
Okay. So the glass is popular then?
It is.
Okay.
It's
Well, that's
also
good to know.
cheap for us to bottle it.
So it allows us to keep our costs down a little bit.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
It does.
Instead of all the individual small containers there and handling that
does.
and moving that on down the road.
That's right.
Okay. Well, let's take one more break, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit about our state meeting coming up here in Conroe later on this year, and the program format and kind of the expectations, and invite folks to it.
Sounds good.
A Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show, with monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776 to take your first step into the radio world.
Hey guys, this is Connor.
This is Dick.
This is Chris.
And we're with the Ticket Stub Podcast every Thursday live at noon on 104.5 and 106.1 FM in the Conroe area. Also, anytime at irlonestar.com. You go to irlonestar.com/TTS. You can find all of our social media.
And don't forget, we give away 2 tickets to the Grand Theater on every show.
If you like movies and you like complaining or celebrating anything that has to do with the silver screen, check out the Ticket Stub Podcast and join us every Thursday at noon o'clock on Lone Star Community Radio.
All righty, glad you've been able to be with us today. We touched on some Harvey damage earlier on in the hour program we've been talking here, and touched on a lot of things. But let's touch back there. I know there's some assistance that has come to be and is being offered through our state association. And if you'd like to expand on that a little bit as far as
Sure.
The process.
Okay, so Bayer Chemical made a donation to Texas Beekeepers Association for us to facilitate some kind of relief program. So we put our heads together, had a committee working on it for several months, and what we came up with, we negotiated some prices with commercial beekeepers that build nooks, sell nucleus hives, to give us a discounted price, and then plus the grant will actually lower the price of that discounted nook another $25, and there will be a limit, so somebody can't come in and eat up that $7,000, because we want to spread it out across as many beekeepers as we can. But we also hope that we may be able to start collecting some other donations. It is a 501(c) organization, so it would be tax exempt, but these commercial beekeepers that have agreed to build the nooks at this discounted price, if we can keep getting the funds in, we hope that we can actually do more than the original 7,000 that we had.
Oh, definitely.
Set
definitely.
up.
So in other words, this is actually going to be a replacement type program instead of
Yes.
just saying, here's some money, go buy what you
Right.
need. This is actually going to.
We wanted to make sure that that money went to something with beekeeping and then to replace something that a beekeeper lost. So there's an application process. It's not very complicated. It will be on the TBA website, Texas Beekeepers Association. It's texasbeekeepers.org. And they will have an application if they want to apply for hives or this relief program. And then if somebody wants to make a contribution, we've got information on how they can contribute to that fund. But we're hoping to help some of the beekeepers that were really affected to try and get back up, get their business, their beekeeping, their hives back up and going.
And we talked to, there's some other groups out there that, we can visit with as far as funds and direct those that way. So let's go ahead and finish up then and talk about that state meeting coming up in June, right?
June 30th, right, Lisa?
June 30th.
And
At the Lone Star Convention Center again.
Got it. Excellent venue there, but it gives you guys an opportunity to highlight some really good speakers there. And again, the program itself is very diverse. In other words, you're handling the folks that are, the newer, inexperienced person all the way to the master person there that's got a lot of experience and wants to be challenged as far as education and providing them with that relief then. So again, is that going to be on our website also then, both of them, or the state one primarily?
If that flyer hasn't been posted yet, it will be in the very near future.
I normally get
with
it straight to my
details.
email, but I have not seen it yet, but normally it comes to me.
Well, we're
You'll get it.
finalizing the details now, and then we'll
Registration will be through you guys then, right?
Yes, through the texasbeekeepers.org website.
So we invite everybody to go to the Montgomery County Beekeepers website or the Texas website.
And we're on Facebook as well.
There you go. Just lots of ways to find them, but again, a wealth of information there. And again, there's some assistance there also to help us recover some of the damages that were occurred back in this fall, this last year. So let's take advantage of those resources. And if you're interested, this coming Monday night there'll be beekeepers
Come see
meeting.
us, yeah.
And again, you'll be impressed with just the friendliness of that outfit. New people come in there and they're just overwhelmed about how cordial folks are and willing to come in and help you out. So that's the neat thing about that group that I take away is that anybody can get some assistance no matter what.
That's right.
We thank you for being with us today. And
Thanks,
again,
Mike.
we appreciate you guys always for the work that you're doing all the time. And again, glad to have you with us today.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for checking out this production of Lone Star Community Radio. Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's community radio station. Don't forget to check out this show and many others across the Lone Star Community Radio Network, either live on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, the Lone Star Internet Radio app, or irlonestar.com's live audio stream, and on replay on podcast, Channel 12's Our City TV in Conroe, or Channel 21 KVQT in Houston, and of course their YouTube channel. This production is copyrighted and all rights are reserved by Lone Star Community Radio. Have a question regarding this program or other Lone Star Community Radio shows? Want to sponsor or start your own show? Call the station message line at 936-647-3776 or email the station at lscrstudios@gmail.com.